Yeah. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. We the ones they are. The ones they can't skip. Fighting for respect, it's a tough road ahead. But we pack that heart and we never dread. Late hits and big plays, we bring in the heat. Watch out for the G5, we can't be beat. From the MAC to the Sun Belt, we don't back down. In this football jungle, we wear the crown. All the doubt is sleeping, but we making noise. In the G5 Hive, we the realest boys. When the clock's ticking down, we the ones to believe. One play, one chance, we gon' make them achieve. From the sidelines to the end zone, hear that roar. In the G5 Hive, we always wantin' more. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. So raise your flags high, let them wave in the air. In the G5 Hive, we the squad that's rare. With heart and grit, we rewriting the script. In the world of college football, we the ones they can't skip. Yeah.
Here's Navarro on the run. Navarro's going to keep it. Navarro for 6! Touchdown, Bobcat!
I feel I had a hard time staying in my own lane.
Oh my goodness! Red Murdoch! Pick 6!
Harvath inside the 30, the 20. Blake Harvath will score!
And Mendoza takes a big hit. He never saw it coming. Trey White got in there.
There's his man, Rucker. And nobody's going to catch him. Goodbye.
Intercepted!
Tyree Skipper! Touchdown!
Telly again, why not? A step forward and make it 2 for Telly!
Quarterback keeper showing off the speed, steps on the gas, untouched!
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive, where we bring you G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Luke. I'm joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review. Tonight, we'll bring you up to speed on the news around the G5, review what went down in conference championship week. I'm sure we're also going to talk just a little bit about an ACC championship. I mean, there's 2 of us. Why not put 2 G5 teams in? And, of course, we're going to talk that playoff talk. We will tackle our year's end 2020 guys, look forward to the Army versus Navy, and give you 2 bowl previews. Before we jump into things, I do want to say, if you're following us on Twitter or Instagram, we are putting out our all-conference teams. We put out the all-freshman G5 Hive team. The American also went out today. Tomorrow, I believe, is Conference USA. Then we have
Mountain
West, then Sunbelt, MAC. Mountain West, MAC, Sunbelt, and
I think
then
it's the
Saturday.
MAC, Mountain West, Sunbelt, and then G5 All-American team.
So we'll have everything coming out here this week. But now let's jump right into things. And we had championship week, so why not talk a little bit about our G5 Hive Players of the Week. For my Offensive Player of the Week in conference championships, it's JMU running back Wayne Knight. Wayne rushed for 212 yards and a touchdown while adding another 11 yards in the air to lead the Dukes to the Sun Belt Championship. Congratulations, Wayne.
My Defensive Player of the Week for Conference Championship Week, also from JMU, is Edge Sahir West. Sahir had 10 tackles, 5 solo, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble to lead the Dukes to the Sun Belt Championships. Congratulations, Sahir. My Offensive Player of the Week for Conference Championship Week is Western Michigan running back Jalen Buckley. Jalen rushed for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding another 2 yards in the air to lead the Broncos to the MAC Championship. Congratulations, Jalen.
And my Defensive Player of the Week for conference championships is Western Michigan edge Nadeem Tucker. Nadeem had 6 tackles, 2 solo, 3 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks to lead the Broncos to the MAC championships. Congratulations, Nadeem. All right, Justice. We got to talk playoffs. We got to talk about news and notes. There's been some awards given out by other than us out there, Real Hardware, I guess. And then obviously there's a lot of just coaching news that we won't dive into, but we should talk about. So let's start with what the Swarm needs to know in our news and notes.
So before, it's mostly dominated, like you said, by coaching news. Before we get to the coaching news, it was announced just a little bit ago that the North Texas quarterback Drew Mestamaker has won the 2025 Burlsworth Trophy. It's awarded to the most outstanding player in college football who started their career as a walk-on. If you don't know his story, he, we've talked about it numerous times, but he, only started one game in high school at quarterback, and it was a B game, which I'm assuming is like a JV game, his freshman year of high school. He walked on North Texas as a safety. Last year, he became the backup quarterback, played really well in the bowl game when Chandler Morris had opted out. He's in the portal. He had his coming out party, if you will. And then, the rest is history. He had a phenomenal season this year for North Texas. Moving on to the coaching news, San Diego State defensive coordinator Rob Orich is off to be the defensive coordinator at Nebraska. Cornerback coach Demetrius Sumler will serve as the defensive coordinator for San Diego State's bowl game. Toledo will be looking for a new head coach, as their head coach has off to UConn. Jason Candle was announced that he's the new head coach of the UConn Huskies. This next one, man, I don't know. It just feels, I don't know what the right word is, slimy a little bit. But Southern Miss head coach Charles Huff is off to Memphis after 1 year at Southern Miss. And defensive coordinator Jason Seymour is following Coach Huff. I don't know.
Disingenuous is like a word that kind of comes into
Much better word.
Unauthentic,
Yeah.
lip service.
Like, how do you talk about loyalty and building things? And you were at Southern Miss for 1 year. Don't blame the guy for bettering himself, but he preaches family and all these things. And
I will say, Southern Miss is in a better place because Charles Huff was there for a year.
Right.
I will give him that. He is leaving the place better than how maybe he received it.
Well, yeah, I think on the surface that's probably right.
Sure.
The one thing, I mean, on the surface it's definitely right, but like, I wonder, like, he brought so many players over from Marshall, and I don't know how many of them still have eligibility after this year, but I'd venture to guess most of them don't. And so, yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
anyway,
in that sense of like bringing Southern Miss back on the map, bringing maybe some excitement to the program, donors.
Sure.
Obviously, that's going to look different, but I think it was overall. If you had to like just grade it, like overall, I think it was a win for Southern Miss.
But also, like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels like maybe a lesson learned, right? You stole this guy from an in-conference team, right? And, like, I don't know, it reminds me of, like, the person that got involved with someone else that was in a relationship, basically got, cheated with this person. And then when they became an item, they got cheated on. I'm like, well, what did you expect, right? Like, what did you just think is not going to happen to you? But anyway, enough about Charles Huff. Southern Miss is looking at offensive coordinator Blake Anderson. I think he's going to get strong consideration. He's obviously their interim. He's the former head coach at Utah State and Arkansas State. Washington State will also be looking for a new head coach after Jimmy Rogers heads to Iowa State after just one season with the Cougars. That sucks for the Cougars, right? That one shocked me a little bit because I didn't feel like maybe he had done enough at Washington State to jump up to a P4 job, but apparently there was the relationship between Rogers and the AD at Iowa State has existed for some time. So, moving back over to the Sun Belt Billy's back, new head coach for JMU. Billy Napier, former Louisiana and most recently Florida Gator head coach, got hired back to take over JMU. That one's going to be interesting because it doesn't fit the mold that JMU has gone down the last few times, right? Where they hire, a successful, very successful up and coming FCS coach. This is like for lack of a better word, it's a retread, right? And he did great in the Sun Belt when he was in Louisiana, but I don't think he ever beat App State, for instance. He also at the time he was in the Sun Belt, I don't believe JMU, Marshall, or Old Dominion were in the Sun Belt at the same time in the East. So while he dominated the West, I don't believe his record against the East was very good. And obviously, I feel like the East has gotten a lot stronger since he was at Louisiana. So be interesting to see how he does there at JMU.
Hey, before you go on with more news, I'm kind of tuned into the YouTube crowd, and there are more people watching than we have likes. I went to public school, not that great at math, but I do know what alligator eats which number. And, there we go. There we got some more likes. Keep it up. Keep it up. All right, back to the news.
All right. South Florida has hired Ohio State head offensive coordinator Brian Hartline as their new head coach. Interesting hire. I don't know. I don't know that I love it or hate it. I just think it'd be interesting to see what he does, right? There are rumors at Ohio State that he never even though he's offensive coordinator, he really wasn't the offensive coordinator. He was offensive coordinator in title only. But anyway, he's the new head coach at South Florida. Supposedly he's already been in contact with Byron Brown, trying to get him to make sure he's still on board and will be back at South Florida next year. Staying in the American, UAB has promoted interim head coach and former offensive coordinator Alex Mortensen to be their next head coach. If you didn't know this, Alex Mortensen is the son of the late Chris Mortensen of ESPN fame. Alex took over in season once Trent Dilfer was fired. They beat Memphis. They beat Tulsa. So he gave him a little juice. We'll see what he can do as the head guy there for UAB. As we talked about last week and expected, Neil Brown has accepted the head coach position at North Texas. Neil Brown, former West Virginia head coach, I believe he's at Troy as well. Tulane will keep things internal for their head coach position in 2026, as they have promoted assistant coach Will Hall. He was a passing game coordinator this last season. He was previously a head coach at Southern Miss prior to coming to Tulane. This one was a head scratcher for me, man, because he was not good at Southern Miss. His teams, it was ugly. It was brutal. He was the head coach before Charles Huff came there. He got fired in the season last year. Yeah, I don't know if this is a case of Tulane being like, hey, maybe we'll get someone that might stay here for a long time. I don't know.
I think the other name was I'm blanking on it, but it was the OC for Miami, who I thought would have been
Shannon Dawson.
Yeah, Shannon Dawson. I thought he would have been good, but yeah, here we'll see.
And I think they also interviewed defensive coordinator Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting how that one turns out. That one does not make a lot of sense to me. East Carolina defensive coordinator Josh Aldridge is leaving to become the defensive coordinator for South Florida. And while they still have John David Baker as OC, he's been linked to several offensive coordinator jobs in the SEC. So it's quite possible ECU could lose both their coordinators. And going over to a coach that had a great season and has been rewarded, Western Michigan has extended the contract of head coach Lance Taylor through 2030. We'll get to it in a second, but Western Michigan just won the MAC championship. All right, let's get over to the G5 and the AP Top 25, the final poll before the bowl season. With their AAC championship, Tulane jumps up from number 21 to number 17. With their loss in the AAC championship, North Texas falls to number 23. The Sun Belt champions James Madison are now at 19, and Navy stays in the top 25, coming in at number 22. Others receiving votes, you have New Mexico at 29 with 21 votes, Boise State with 16 votes at 31, UNLV 32 with 10 votes, 33 South Florida with 10 votes, 37 UConn with 5 votes, 39 Kennesaw State 4 votes, and 43 Western Michigan with 1 vote.
Shout out to Kennesaw State. Who would have thought? 2025
right.
end of the season
year in FBS,
and they're receiving votes number 39. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. College football playoffs. We talked about this last week. We laid out what needed to happen, and it happened. Duke wins the ACC championship, despite, in my opinion, the last, 2 minutes of the game or so, putting on a master class in how to lose a game. It was bad, but it went to overtime, and they were able to pull it out. And as a result of Duke winning, the Dukes are in. So we get 2 G5s in the college football playoffs. We get Tulane and James Madison. Tulane number 11, JMU 12. Tulane will get a rematch against Ole Miss, who beat them earlier in the season, I think by 35 points, actually. Hopefully, Tulane will be more prepared and can make a great game out of it. James Madison gets number 5, Oregon in Eugene. That'll be a tough task, but this JMU team, they're good in the trenches. I think it'll be a good game. The thing that irritates me the most about, and we've talked about it for coming up to this point, is so last year Boise State gets a bye, right? And all the talk was, well, that's BS. They shouldn't get a bye. We need to change the rules. And so they did. No more automatic buys for conference winners, top 4 ranked teams. Well, this year, 2 G5s get in. And guess what? All the talk is, this is ridiculous. They don't belong in. We got to change the rules. And to me, it's bull crap, because the teams that are making the rules are the Power 4 schools. It ain't the G5s that's making the rules. It's the ACC, the SEC, Big 10, Big 12. Those are the teams making the rules, and they're losing at their own rules. I mean, like, it just pisses me off to no end. Like, and then you hear people say, like, you know, that JMU and, you know, Tulane don't belong. Okay, well,
I'm honestly just as what I'm like shocked about is that there's not more talk about JMU and Tulane making it. Like, I feel like that's not getting much attention. Maybe I'm just not watching the right things or listening to the right things, but I feel like the most of the stuff I hear is about how Notre Dame didn't make it and how Miami was toting, or the ACC conference was toting and praising Miami and not praising Notre Dame, and that's rubbing them the wrong. It seems to be this all Miami Notre Dame thing, and the 2 G5 teams making it just is going under the radar, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I would say those two things are like 50-50 in terms of like the scuttle. Maybe it's because our G5 X account is so the algorithm works so great to just only show us G5 information that I see more of it. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, like Bud Elliott, like, I don't know, like, I'll be honest with you, I lost a lot of respect for Bud Elliott this week. Some of the things he has said about the G5, and it's like clear, like, I don't know, he's just echoing things that like you'd hear from ESPN, people that don't watch G5 games.
Or is he a mastermind and all he's doing is trying to drive engagement?
Right, he could be pulling a Stephen A. Smith. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like that's his normal MO. But you know, you're right. You're absolutely right. That could be.
It is creating content, one way or the other.
Right. Good, bad, or ugly. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It just kind of irritates me because they're gonna change the rules again to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it other than try to exclude the G5 altogether. I would hope that the ACC and the Big 12 would realize that them doing that really only benefits the SEC and the Big 10. And then it just makes it easier for them to say, oh, screw you, ACC. Like, you know, you had a 7-5 team in your conference championship, you know. I don't know. It just I don't like it. It's the G5 teams played by the rules that were set forth, and they made it in by those rules. The same rules that the P4 teams established, and like they can't win at their own game.
It's like like you said, they play by the rules and they still win. It's like the teams that, like, when you were growing up and you played, you're like, I hate playing this team. It's like, why? Well, because they like win. Well, so you hate them because they win? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. It almost seems a little bit like that.
The other things I think that are disingenuous, they talk about, oh, these teams are going to get blown out. Okay, well, like last year, round 1 of the playoffs, I think every single game except for maybe one was a blowout. And they didn't involve a G5 team. So blowouts are going to happen regardless of whether the G5 is in it or not. That's just the nature of college football. The other thing they said is, well, these two teams can't win it. Okay, I mean, the chances are not good that they can win it. But I can tell you what, those same chances exist for probably, you know, 6 of the other teams. They don't have a realistic shot at winning it. Like, you know, maybe like it's the top 4 this year have the probably the most realistic shot of winning it all. So like, but we're not excluding those teams, right? We're not excluding the 4th place team from the SEC or the the 5th place team from the Big Ten who really can't win it either, but they're in the playoffs. So like, it's all about the G5 and like even the whole like Notre Dame Miami thing. Like I feel like the ACC was trying to push it off on the G5. Well, blame JMU. Well, no, like blame your own crappy conference. That your conference is so crappy, right? Like that's why they didn't get in. I mean, like I don't know.
And the other thing that's not playoff related when we get to the bowls is all these teams that are opting out. Like
that's a whole other scenario, right?
Like that's wild to me. It like I get like the circumstances that we had last year, but then those are 15 free practices to get extra for your team. Like I don't know why you like honestly, even if you go and you just get pummeled in a bowl game, like I can, see it maybe for the P4s who like Notre Dame. Okay, they go in and whoever they would play, I think it was BYU or whatnot, and they're just mentally not in it and they get crushed. Maybe that's not good. But, like, again, for these G5 teams, getting extra reps for your guys, 15 extra practices, and let's just say you want to transfer. You get 15 more practices to get game or, like, film of you to give out to other teams if that's what you want to do. I think it's crazy that we're having teams that are opting out, and I think it was Georgia Southern was having a hard time getting somebody, and we're going to get App State against them. But it's just like that seemed wild to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I think someone I can't take credit for this idea. I've seen several other people float this out there, but like the teams like Notre Dame, Iowa State, Kansas State that all like were eligible and backed out, they got fined. Well, Iowa State and Kansas State got fined by the
ones in a conference did.
Right. The Notre Dame isn't getting fined by anybody. But I think like if you're going to opt out, fine, you opt out. Guess what? No bowl game or playoffs for you next year. Like that should be the rule. Like I understand the 5-win teams that had to get called and they had to turn it down. I'm okay with that because those teams aren't expecting to make a bowl game, right? And so in this day and age, school's over. Like most colleges have ended, and like or they're taking online classes,
they're gone,
or whatever, and so they're gone, right? Like the football season is over; those kids are gone. Like you're not able to like it's an impossible task to get those kids back to school, and so I can't blame the Rutgers, the Baylors, etc. I don't blame them at all for saying, hey, we can't do it. But the Iowa States, the Kansas States, and Notre Dame, like just finding them is not enough. Like tell them, saying, yeah, great, no bowl game for you, no bowl game, which would mean no playoffs for you next year. I guarantee you, if you told them that, they'd all play. I guarantee you. Now, the one exception I would say would be a situation like what happened with Marshall last year, right, where they lost a coach, they lost 30-plus players, and like they legit didn't think they could field a team. Like that's a big deal. But they didn't turn it down right away. That happened much later, right? Like Notre Dame, Iowa State, Kansas State came out right off the bat and said, yeah, we're done. And so it's a very different situation than Marshall. But yeah, I agree with you. They got to do something.
All right. Well, hey, let's jump right into our conference championships in review.
We still got we got our top 25 poll.
Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh.
So these are our votes for this is the final poll for the Hero Sports consensus top 25. We don't have a comparison this week because the Hero Sports has not released the consensus poll yet, but we'll run down how it shook out for us in our votes. So we had Tulane at number 1, JMU 2, North Texas 3, Navy 4, South Florida 5, East Carolina 6, Old Dominion 7, Boise State 8, New Mexico 9, San Diego State 10, Kennesaw State 11, UConn 12, Western Michigan 13, UNLV 14, Memphis 15, Hawaii 16, Jacksonville State 17, Troy 18, Toledo 19, Western Kentucky 20, Fresno State number 21, Ohio 22, Florida International 23, Miami 24, and Central Michigan rounds out our top 25 at 25, and that's our final votes. We didn't really move much around other than the winners of the winners and losers of championship week.
I think the biggest jump that we had, Boise State, I think went from 16 to 8, and we kind of didn't think MACtion would be back this year, and they looked a lot better with him under center. But I still believe that New Mexico and San Diego State were more worthy of making that conference championship game, so I still have them above UNLV in that case. And if you want to switch around UNLV and Western Michigan, sure, I just gave the edge to the team, who won the conference championship.
And then I'd say the other big would be Tulane, right? Tulane jumped JMU. JMU had been number one for a couple weeks in the polls. In our poll, our votes, Tulane jumped them. They played North Texas, a much harder opponent than JMU played. So the American overall, I think, was a tougher conference in the Sun Belt this year. So we gave the nod to Tulane as number one, and you can see the AP poll did the same thing, and obviously the playoff committee thought the same as well. But yeah, that's going to do it for our top 25 poll for the 2025 season, and hopefully we'll be doing our poll again in 2026. Hopefully, Hero Sports will continue having us in their consensus poll.
All right, now that we've recovered from my false start, now we're going to talk about conference championships in review. We're going to then tackle Army versus Navy and then talk about our bowl games. So let's jump right into Conference USA, Conference Championship in review. Friday night, we had Kennesaw State at Jacksonville State, and this was all Kennesaw State for the first 47 minutes, but they played 60 minutes. Kennesaw State was playing just more physical, more confident, and you could just kind of feel it heading into the fourth. It just kind of oozed through the TV screen. Even though they're only up 10-0, you thought it was a much bigger lead. And then 4th and goal from the 1. I wouldn't say it's a tush push, but he's getting in there. He's getting pushed, and he's in. Or is he? Odom is who I'm talking about. They say he's short. Unbelievable. In my opinion, he was in. It looked like, but that's kind of where things shifted in the game. Jacksonville State would take over from the 1, and then a false start. Then a safety. Okay. You didn't get the touchdown, but you're going to get the 2 points, and then you get, honestly, that could have been the worst thing that happened, is getting that safety in the kickoff. They fumble on the kickoff return. Ripa, makes a huge tackle. Ball just pops straight up, goes off one guy. They recover. Cook ends up getting into the end zone later. Jacksonville State has life, and you could just feel that momentum shift instantly. Jacksonville State stops Kennesaw State, and that you could just feel it. And Jacksonville State starting to take control. There's 8:20 left in the game. Jacksonville State would convert a 4th down and later score on the drive on a Creel touchdown. There's 4:04 left. They go for 2, and who else? DeAndre Johnson was like the receiver of the game for them. Throw it up to the 6'8" guy. What could go wrong? He comes down with it one-handed, and with that and the 2-point conversion, Jacksonville State's up 15-12 on that touchdown. I honestly thought it was a false start by Cook, who's playing running back. There's 2 men in motion, and the refs just flat out missed it. I don't know how you miss it, but you do. After the defensive pass interference call later, the Owls feel like they've got some life in them, but they get a chop block. Makes it 2nd and 27 with less than 3 minutes to go, and there is a huge throw on 3rd and 27. Christian Moss catches it for 26 yards. It's 4th and 1, 2 minutes left. They convert. Owls would later get a huge break as Odom gets sacked. It's originally called intentional grounding on 3rd down, but instead it's overturned. His knee was down, so that makes it 4th and 14 with 1:03 left from the Jacksonville State 37. Jacksonville State comes with pressure, and Odom runs for a first down, plus he gets a late hit into the kicking net as he scampers off to the left. It's 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line with 57 seconds left. And then Odom looks like he's going to run the ball, then pulls up, fires it, finds Dean in the end zone. Kennesaw stayed up 19-15 with 52 seconds left. And then later, Elijah Hill had a huge sack, 3rd and 20 with 40 seconds left. The Owls win 19-15. Elijah Hill had a nice game for the Owls. He had 2 big sacks in this one. And then Coleman Bennett would outrush Cam Cook 82 yards to 78. Both would have a rushing touchdown in this game. But Kennesaw State, the Owls, are your conference champs for CUSA.
Elijah Hill's had a big season. Matter of fact, he was one of the players on our all true freshman team.
All right, let's move on over to our American Conference game. Friday, number 20 North Texas versus number 21 Tulane. Caleb Hawkins would be injured on the opening drive, and that would just kind of be some foreshadowing for the night for the Mean Green. The name of the game was turnovers. North Texas had 5 on the night, and Tulane scored 21 points on those turnovers. Before the half, Tulane would score a touchdown, but no catch interference. I don't know if you saw this. It was like, what's the ref looking at? He gets ran into blatantly. Anyways, Tulane would recover it, score a touchdown there quick before half. They'd also have an INT for a touchdown. I don't think it was a touchdown. I think it should have been a touchback. Either way, ball's a funny shape, bounces all Tulane's way in this one. North Texas would try and make things interesting late with a touchdown, cut the lead to 10 with 9:26 left, but Tulane field goal and another North Texas interception in the end zone ended things there for North Texas. Magical season. Tulane wins and is your conference champion for the American 34-21.
The other, you talked about that play. The other play in this game, I felt, and they reviewed it, and it still, in my opinion, got it wrong. So Drew Mestermaker had that interception, and then he tackles the guy on the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, causes a fumble, and they reviewed the play and said that
was the interception. Yeah,
they called it a touchdown on the field, but then it looked pretty clear to me in the review he didn't cross. It was out of he lost control before he crossed the end zone. They reviewed it and still gave him a touchdown. I didn't think that was the right call either. But kudos to Mestermaker for a lot of quarterbacks. I don't feel like would have tried ran the guy down and been able to cause a fumble. So kudos to him for not giving up. But yeah, I think the refs certainly didn't lose the game for North Texas, but they didn't help the situation either.
All right. Let's get into our Sun Belt Conference championship review. We had Troy versus number 19 JMU, and this is a game last week. Justice is on record saying, I ain't watching this. This is a blowout. This is going to, why even watch this one? This game was a lot closer than we both thought it would be. It was
for 3 quarters, maybe 3.5, maybe.
It was 17-14 JMU in the fourth. And this one was really weird feeling to it because it kind of felt like JMU should be losing this game, but it also felt like they were about to break the game wide open at any moment. And it was because their defense was lights out and then the offense struggled. Both teams had problems catching the ball in the first half, especially the first quarter. JMU didn't convert their first third down till the 13-minute mark of the third quarter. JMU just thrown an interception. Then Troy misses a field goal. Then JMU fumbles it. And then Troy's drive, Crowder gets hit, and it was lower body. I'm just going to call it the right ankle. You're supposed to just say lower body because you don't know what it really was. Tucker Kilcrease comes in, and kind of once that happened, JMU just took over. They finally busted open the game, following a Barnett touchdown run, the JMU defense would get a sack, fumble, scoop, and score. It's now 31-14 with 3:17 left, and JMU wins. JMU would focus more on the run in the second half as the receivers, like I've talked about, had problems catching the ball. Well, actually, both teams did, but they had rushing yards of 318 to Troy's negative 26. Woof. Talk about complete domination there. And bottom line, when you come down to everything that happened in this game, one team had Wayne Knight on offense. The other team didn't. One team had Shair West on defense. The other team didn't. They just happened to both play for JMU. It was a career-high night for Wayne Knight as he rushed for 212 yards, my offensive player of the week, while West had 10 tackles, 5 solo, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for losses. You would have thought he played on Troy's backfield with how much he was back there. Like I said, JMU wins this one 31-14, and they are off to the playoffs.
One thing I talked about this game not being close, and at the end of the day, it ended up not being as close. But like you said, it was close for 3.5 quarters. But the other thing I was absolutely right about was talking about that offensive line for Troy, how bad that offensive line was. And, it showed. Shair West was like, he lived in that backfield. He might as well have been standing back there playing running back for as much as he was back there all night. That Troy offensive line just was not able to. I saw it against Old Dominion. I think Old Dominion had 10 sacks on the night. I don't know what the total was for JMU, but it was up there as well. Pretty sure I have the stats when we get to the bowl preview for Troy, but they rank last, 136 in terms of sacks allowed. Not good at all.
All right, let's move on over to our Mountain West Conference Championship game. UNLV versus Boise State. MACtion returns to the lineup for Boise State, and he returned with the belt in hand, and Daddy Maddox was not happy with UNLV, and he just laid into this UNLV defense. Boise was up big at the half, 28-14. When UNLV scored late in the third to cut the lead to 7, like I said, Big Daddy Madsen returned from the other room and asked UNLV's defense, "What did I just hear you say?" It was kind of like that scene from the Christmas Story when he says fudge while changing the tire, but he doesn't actually say fudge. Anyways, Big Daddy Madsen finds Chase Penry for 46 yards, and Sire Gaines punches it in from 1 yard out to go up 35-21, and Big Daddy Madsen leads Boise State to their third straight win over UNLV in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. I just hope he gets UNLV a good Christmas present. I don't know. I mean, call him Daddy.
Yeah, I thought this game would be more competitive than it was. Like the Brett's point, UNLV had their opportunities, man. Boise State just has UNLV's number for whatever reason. It just reinforces what we said. We would have preferred to see New Mexico in this game over UNLV for sure.
All right. Let's move on over to our Mid-American Conference game, the lone Saturday game here for the G5. We have Miami, Western Michigan played in Detroit. The game went as expected. Just like we drew it up, we said Western Michigan is going to lean on the running game. They did. We said Miami's going to lean on Cam Perry. They did. We also said it's going to be solid defense, solid defense was played by both teams. Cam Perry had 7 receptions on 11 targets for 101 yards. Western Michigan got all their production from Jalen Buckley, who had 193 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, while Brock Lowry only had 65. I think that's probably the only thing that we got. Our expectations probably thought Brock Lowry would have done more, but we said it was going to be on the ground. And then in the second half, you take away the kickoffs, you take away punts for those plays, and they ran the ball. Western Michigan did 26 of their 29 plays for 139, and 29 of their 40 plays in the first half were runs. So again, minus those field goals, punts, kickoffs, you could see they only passed the ball 3 times if it wasn't a kick. So you got Nadeem Tucker, who had 6 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 sacks on the day. He was a monster. Eli Blakely had 14 tackles, 9 solo, and 1 sack for Miami. He would have had a fumble recovery too, but Lowry was ruled down on a play. I think it was in the first half. He fumbled it, and that was a huge game changer because I believe Miami returned that for a touchdown, and he was considered down on that play. And again, similar to our JMU Sunbelt recap, one team had Jalen Buckley on offense, one team had Dave Tucker on defense, and the other one didn't. And they just happened to both play for Western Michigan. After each team possessed the ball in their first drive, it was just all Broncos in this one. The only time I really felt like they might lose, or when they were starting to lose momentum, was after Miami has scored a touchdown with about 7 minutes to go in the fourth that cut the Western lead to 10, and the Broncos offense had a turnover on down. As Brock Lowry, he rolls out to the right and just misses a wide open Blake Bozma, just like sails it right over his head. But that Western Michigan defense would hold the Red Hawks on their next 2 possessions to 12 yards. The Broncos would get 2 sacks. And like I said, Western wins this one 23-13. Huge game there for Western Michigan. Heck of a year for Western Michigan sports. They win the national championship for hockey, and then they win a MAC conference championship the first time since 2016.
Yeah, and not really one of the teams like if you like that we expected to win it, right? Miami was a team we expected to be in the mix for the conference championship, but we had Ohio and Toledo and Buffalo. I think those were like our top 4 teams. So, Western Michigan certainly, exceeded our expectations for them in terms of making a conference championship and then turn around and win the whole thing, man. Like their defense has been lights out this year. And then, like you said, the running game has been really good as well.
All right. So that recaps our conference championship. So let's move on over to our Saturday game, and where we have Army versus number 22 Navy at 3 p.m. Eastern for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy. Justice, break it down for us.
All right. So just like last week of the conference championship games, we're going to kind of run down what it looks like when each team has offense and the other teams on defense. So we're going to start with Navy on offense, Army on defense. And as you might imagine, both of these teams kind of have the same strengths, triple option offense, but Navy is the number 1 rushing offense in all of college football, averaging 298.4 yards per game. As you might imagine, they aren't very good in the passing game. They're ranked 132nd with 136.4 yards per game. They're the 31st scoring offense, 32.5 points per game. I'm not even going to talk about sacks because in the offense that both of these teams run, sacks just aren't a thing because they don't really throw the ball, right? They're spending time running it. The Army defense, they're 63rd in rushing, 147.1 yards per game. Passing, who cares? But they're 51st. Scoring, they're 47th, 22.5 points per game. These games, I always feel like they're, no matter how good or bad the other team is, these teams know each other so well, right? They get a chance to kind of play against an offense that's more like their own offense, and so that they know the ins and outs of it. And these games are always super competitive, always. I feel like for the most part, kind of low scoring. And speaking of scoring, Navy is favored in this game by 6 with an over/under of 38.5. That feels like a big spread to me, right? Like feels like this game is gonna be tighter than 6 points. So if I had to pick something, I think I'm gonna take Army and the 6 points. It just feels like a field goal game to me, not a touchdown game in terms of the difference between the two teams. Navy on offense, obviously, you got Blake Horvath at quarterback. You got Alex Texa there at fullback, and then you got Eli Heidenreich. When they need a big play, Eli Heidenreich's the man getting the ball, whether it's running or receiving. He's kind of their big play specialist. They're the big weapon for Navy. He's the one man explosive play waiting to happen. You look at Army on the defensive side. They got two good linebackers in Thomas and Fortin. And then you got Larkin. Am I getting that right? Larkin on the yes, Casey Larkin, safety. Those are kind of the names to know for Army. Andon Thomas, Caleb Fortner, and Casey Larkin. Those are probably the three big defensive players for Army.
Thomas and Larkin, all AAC, all conference players for us that dropped today, and we've got some more people on impact defense for Navy.
Yeah, so that's as you might expect. Look for Texa on the fullback dive. Look for Eli Heidenreich, on those explosive plays, and then obviously Blake Horvath is going to keep it and run it himself as well. All right, moving over to when Army has the ball on offense. Again, as you might expect, Army is the 5th ranked rushing offense, averaging 256.9 yards per game. They are the worst passing offense, though, 78.3 yards per game, ranked 136. The Navy defense is ranked 58th in yards per game, for rushing yards per game, giving up 143.2 yards per game, 124th in passing, but that's really not going to come to fruition against this Army offense. Looking at the scoring, Army is ranked 101st, averaging 23 points per game, and the Navy defense is ranked 82nd, giving up 26.9 points per game. On offense for Army, Cale Helms, he's the guy, right? He's the man at quarterback. He makes this Army, this Black Knight offense run. They got Noah Short. I mean, I guess if you had to think of it, there's going to be a big play, an explosive play that doesn't come from Cale Helms. Noah Short would be the next suspect, and then you have Jake Rendina there at fullback, kind of with the fullback dive. But Cale Helms, he's really he's the man in this offense. They kind of go as far as he goes. Navy on the defensive side, you got Luke Pierce, a great edge there for Navy, and then they got all conference. Our defensive player of the year in the American Conference, nose guard Landon Robinson.
And I will be absolutely shocked if he does not play some sort of factor in his special teams.
Yeah. If
you think back to last year, he had a huge 4th down fake punt that he converted. I believe they ran the same play like in their last game. I'm trying to remember who they played. I think there was a holding penalty called. I look for him to be involved in the special teams game.
Yeah, so Landon Robinson, Luke Pierce, those are probably the two guys to keep an eye on for that Army defense. Like I said, this feels like a 17-14 game, maybe 21-18, 21-17. Something along those lines. With the over/under only being 39 or 38.5. I'm sorry. You can see it's kind of when these two teams play, it's almost always a low-scoring affair, and it's generally a tight game. Navy might have gotten. I'm trying to think last year. I think Navy. It wasn't a tight game last year. Navy hit Eli Heidenreich on several explosive plays to kind of open it up last year, but I feel like traditionally it's been a pretty tight game. If I'm gonna make a bet on this game, it's gonna be Army getting the 6 points and keeping it close.
I'm going to say there's going to be a lot more points than we think, even though it'll be probably cold. I don't know what the weather's like up there, but give me the over in points.
They're playing in Baltimore, so the game will be at Baltimore. Unfortunately, they don't get the spotlight, right? Like this game traditionally had been like the only game, but it's not the only game that day. Bowl season starts that day, right? So let's get right to it.
All right, so we've got our bowl game previews. 2 games, I believe, that we're going to tackle this week. First is going to be our LA Bowl. That's going to be Saturday, December 13th, 9 p.m. Eastern. 9-4 Boise State against 8-4 Washington. Take it away, Justice. I'll get the lines up here.
So Washington's favored by 9.5. Over under of 51.5. This will be an interesting game. Washington with Damon Williams, Denzel Boston, Jonah Coleman. They've got a pretty good offense, and they got a pretty good defense as well. I looked today to see if guys like Denzel Boston or Jonah Coleman would be sitting out. Those guys are likely to get drafted in the NFL draft, so it wouldn't shock me if they did not play. However, head coach said today that as of now, both Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman are going to play in this game. So we should be getting the full squad for Washington and the full squad for Boise State. So when Washington is on offense, they are ranked 59th in rushing offense, 168.7 yards per game. Boise State's rushing defense is ranked 88th, giving up 164 yards per game. Passing offense, Washington is ranked 50th, 245.8 yards per game. Boise State, that's the strength of their defense. They're ranked 12th, only giving up 171.5 yards per game. Scoring offense for Washington, 33.8 points per game they're averaging. Boise State's giving up 23. They're ranked 53rd. And then you look at the sacks. Washington offensive line is giving up 2.42 sacks per game, ranked 104th. But Boise State's ranked 78th. Defense is ranked 78 and only getting 1.77 sacks per game. I think for me, when Washington is on offense and Boise's on defense, is how those Washington or how those Boise State cornerbacks look against those Washington receivers. You got Denzel Boston, you got Desmond Roebuck, and then on the defensive side, you got Jeremiah Irby and Amarian McCoy, two of the best corners in the G5. Other players to note for Boise State, you got Jaden Virgin Morgan on that defensive line. You got Ty Benefield in safety there, and then Marco Notarini, defense linebacker. This Boise State defense is kind of, other than in the passing game, I feel like they've underperformed all year. I think there's enough talent that they should have been better than they have been. We saw them get gashed by Air Force and others this season. Maybe it's going to be Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman, running game, take advantage of that weakness for Boise State. If Jonah Coleman can't go, I don't expect there to be any drop off. You got Adam Muhammad, and there's another a smaller, faster back whose name escapes me for Washington. Muhammad's kind of the banger in the middle, but there's no shortage of talent at running back for Washington. So even if Jonah Coleman does not play, not too worried. I feel like the same for the receivers. They got a couple of freshmen and sophomore receivers even if Denzel Boston doesn't play, shouldn't be too big of a concern for Washington. Quarterback Damon Williams Jr. He's electric. He had not had a chance to see him play. Dual threat. He's a smaller guy, so I think that limits his NFL. But man, like he's a fun quarterback on the collegiate level. All right, let's move over to when Washington on defense, Boise State on offense. So Washington defense, what we've talked about this. What does Boise want to do? They want to run the ball some more. They're the 32nd ranked rushing team, averaging 188.4 yards per game. However, that is the strength of the Washington defense. They are ranked 17th, only giving up 103.6 yards per game. So, it feels like MACtion is going to have to, be able to throw the ball effectively and pass the ball to have a shot for Boise State to upset Washington in this
Can
game.
you put some respect on his name? It's Big Daddy, MACtion. That's what he is.
If he plays well and they win this game, I'll call him Big Daddy.
Okay.
But passing, Boise State's ranked 52nd, averaging 244.3 yards per game. The Washington defense is ranked 50th, giving up 207.8 yards per game. Scoring, Boise State's ranked 40th, averaging 31.4 yards per game. And the Washington defense, pretty good, ranked 21st, only giving up 19.4 points per game. I mean, it just feels like as much as I want Boise State to win this game, I just don't think I don't think they have the firepower to do it. Their firepower is their running backs. Well, that's the strength of the Washington defense as well. When Boise's on offense, it's all about Dylan Riley, Sire Gaines, and Malik Sherrod.
I think Boise State wins this one if they're able to convert on their third downs. I think if they convert, I'm assuming they're going to probably get about 15 or 16 third downs. If they can convert, if they can be like 10 or 11 of 15 or 16, I think that they win this. I think that's going to be the story. Third down, if they can win that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, they're going to have to be able to run the ball. And MACtion, maybe this is a game where we can see Matt Louder come to life, right? We saw it. We haven't seen it as much this year as we saw last year, but we saw when Maddox really needed to, get a first down, when he needed that, security blanket, if you will. Matt Lauder was that guy, and so maybe that'll be who they turn to attack this Washington defense. At the end of the day, as much as it pains me to say this, I have to. If I'm going to bet something, I've got to go with Washington and lay the 9.5 points. I just think their offense is too good. And they're gonna, that Boise defense is underperformed. I think Washington's going to score some points, and I think Boise's going to struggle to keep up with them in the running game. Give me Washington laying the 9.5.
I think what you forgot, Justice, is how Spencer Danielson is a man of the Lord, and he gives everything to the Lord. When you've got Jesus on your team, I think you're covering points. I think that's what it goes. If Jesus is on your team, you cover points. All right, let's move over to our Salute to Veterans Bowl, Tuesday, December 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is a matchup of runner-ups. We've got Jacksonville State. We've got Troy, Sunbelt, and CUSA runner-ups there. What do we got for lines? And
we got so Troy is favored by 4, over under a 46.5. Give me Jacksonville State all day, every day. Absolutely. They're going to win this game outright.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Especially if you got to play Tucker Kilcrease at quarterback, if that ankle lower body injury isn't all there. Yeah, give me this.
Yeah, I don't understand how Troy's the favorite personally. Give me Jacksonville State all day. What Jacksonville we just talked about both of these teams last week as they were both in the conference championship games. What does Jacksonville State do really well? What do they want to do? They want to run the ball. So let's start with Jacksonville State on offense. They are the 4th ranked rushing offense, averaging 258 yards per game. Looking at that Troy defense, they are the 112th ranked rushing defense, giving up 182.3 yards per game. Troy defense does well against the pass. They're ranked 37th, but Jacksonville State doesn't want to pass the ball. Jacksonville State is ranked 121st, only averaging 161.2 yards per game. It's just a bad matchup for Troy. Man, we just watched Wayne Knight run all over him, right? We watched ODU run all over him, a couple Thursday nights ago on ESPN. Cam Cook, Caden Creel, those two guys are going to have field days in this game. Cam Cook, I think is going to have a monster game.
I think it's safe to say both will have over 100 yards rushing. So,
I'd almost say I think Cam Cook's going to have like 150 plus and probably 2 touchdowns in this game. I don't know what if the props are available yet or not, but man, like he is just going to go hog wild. But we talked about these guys last week. Those are the two guys, Caden Creel and Cam Cook. When Troy has the ball, when Jacksonville State has the ball, and then like you talked about earlier, DeAndre Johnson, the 6'8" receiver, just such a weapon in the red zone. And then the other receiver, man, they got some Steiner, Big Papa Pump's son, Brock Rechsteiner, their receiver. He's another weapon for them when they do pass the ball. On defense for Troy, it's all about Jordan Stringer. He's an all conference type, all conference level player there at linebacker. He's the engine that makes that Troy defense run. But man, I don't think they're gonna slow down Caden Creel and Cam Cook. I think those two guys are gonna have big games. Well, let's move over to when Troy does have the ball. This graphic shows Goose Crowder as the likely starter there. We'll see. I doubt it. I think it's going to be Tucker Kilcrease. But when Troy has the ball, they're best at passing. They're ranked 84th, averaging 215.4 yards per game. Rushing, they're ranked 130th, 98.8 yards per game. The big thing about Troy is the offensive line and giving up sacks. Ranked 136th, dead last in FBS college football, giving up 4.4 sacks per game. Jacksonville State defense is ranked 57th, averaging 2 sacks per game. That defense,
Knicks, they're going to have Mac Sanders. They're going to have a field day.
Yeah, they are going to have a field day in this game. Osteen and Max Sanders, they're 2 outstanding linebackers. Max Sanders was on our all freshman team, and then Bowling on the offensive line for Troy, also on our all freshman team. Osteen's a freshman, but he's not a true freshman. He's a redshirt freshman, but he's had a phenomenal year for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. And then there are two safeties, Woods, a transfer over from Colorado, and then Caleb Nix. Caleb Nix has been one of the top safeties in the G5 this year. They have a decent defense, and the opportunistic defense, turn the ball over, interceptions and fumbles. Troy, like I said, it's either going to be Goose Crowder or Tucker Kilcrease. My lean is Tucker Kilcrease. They got Tay Meadows is their starting running back. And then when they're throwing the ball, it's probably going to be the Mothershed or Higgins. I think Mothershed's pretty tall. He's not DeAndre Johnson tall. He's not 6'8", but I think he's 6'4". And even Connors had some big games throughout the year for him as well. But I just don't see a way Troy defense is going to stop the rush of Jacksonville State. So they're going to control, time of possession, control the ball. And then, man, this Troy offensive line has performed so poorly. I just don't see I don't see a path to victory for the Troy Trojans this week. And I am absolutely shocked that they are the favorite in the game. So yeah, give me the Gamecocks getting the 4 points in this one.
Absolutely. All right, that does it for our bowl previews. So let's jump into our 2020 players for the 2025 season. When we jump into quarterbacks here, I am taking a look at the top 20 in pass attempts and pass yardage. And then I started looking at rushing yards. So I got some feedback of it shouldn't always be that. So I'm looking at rushing yards too, and I'm factoring in what you're able to bring to the team. It's not always just, managing the team here. But number 1, North Texas, Drew Mestemaker. Number 2, Nick Minicucci, Delaware. Number 3, Joe Fagnano at UConn. Number 4, we've got Caden Velkamp at FAU. Number 5, Micah Alejado at Hawaii. Braylon Braxton, Southern Miss at number 6. ECU quarterback Caden Hauser comes in at number 7. Arkansas State, Jalen Rayner at number 8. Noah Kim, Eastern Michigan at 9. Taquan Roberson, Buffalo at 10. And Jalen Kitna, UAB, comes in at number 11. Drew Mestemaker leads this group in passing touchdowns with 29, but Joe Fagnano is only one behind him with 28. No surprise here, but Jalen Rayner leads this group in rushing attempts per game and rushing yards, sacks not included, of course, with 10 attempts for 51 yards a game. A bit surprising, maybe, is that Taquan Roberson leads this group in average depth of target with 11.4 yards. Caden Hauser was tied for 3rd in this group with the least amount of turnover-worthy plays. I point this out because of this group, his O-line gave him the least amount of time to throw the ball at 2.23 seconds. Moving on to running backs, we've got Cam Cook, Jacksonville State, number 1. Caleb Hawkins, North Texas at 2. Evan Dickens, Liberty at 3. Dante McMillan, Eastern Michigan at 4. Wayne Knight, James Madison at 5. Say Bangura at Ohio, number 6. Austin Dendy, Bowling Green at number 7. Coming in at number 8 is Cam Edwards at UConn. Number 9, Keon Owens, FIU. Chip Traino, Toledo at 10. Lincoln Pear, Texas State at 11. Dominic Richardson comes in at 12 at Tulsa. At 13, Kendrell Bullock, South Alabama. Anthony Hankerson, Oregon State, comes in at 14. And rounding out our 15th guy is Lucky Sutton, San Diego State. Of these 15 running backs, 13 were averaging more than 100 yards per game, with Cam Cook leading the way, averaging 154 yards per game. So Justice is saying he's going to hit that in his bowl game this week coming up. Wayne Knight leads the group in receptions per game with 2.9, but Caleb Hawkins is close behind him with 2.5, and Cam Cook has 2.2. Caleb Hawkins, hot end to the season, put him in the lead in G5 in rushing touchdowns with 23. He had 16 rushing touchdowns the last month of the season. Dang. Cam Cook has been elusive as he leads the G5 in missed tackles force with 93. Next closest is Caleb Hawkins with 78. Check the We got any comments here? Check this. Nope. All right. Wide receivers. We've got 12 here. Skylar Bell, UConn at number 1. Danny Scudero, San Jose State at number 2. Camden Brown, Georgia Southern at number 3. Bo Sparks, Texas State at 4. Easton Messer, FAU at number 5. Junior Vanderos, Toledo at number 6. At number 7, Ted Hurst, Georgia State. Number 8, Iverson Hooks at UAB. Chase Hendricks, Ohio at 9. Braden Pegan, Utah State, number 10. Number 11, Nick McMillan of Buffalo. And rounding out our wide receivers, number 12, Tyler TK King, New Mexico State. 3 new names there that we didn't really see all during the season there at number 10, 11, and 12 with Pegan, McMillan, and King. Of these 12 wide receivers, 4 of them are earning double-digit targets per week. That's Scudero, that's Bell, Hurst, and Messer. Messer and Bell lead the way with 8 receptions per game, but Scudero's 7.33 are close behind. Only 2 of the 12 are averaging 100-plus yards receiving. That's Danny Scudero, 108 yards, and Skylar Bell at 107 yards. Camden Brown leads the wide outs in the G5 with touchdowns with 14, but Skylar Bell's right behind him with 13. Skylar Bell also leads the group in yak per reception with 8.2. The next closest, Junior Vanderos, the third with 6.3, and then Bo Sparks at 6.1, and then everyone else, I think there's a 5.4, and then everyone else is like 4 and 3 point whatever. Only a third of this group ended the season with double-digit receiving touchdowns. The aforementioned Cameron Brown, Skylar Bell, along with Danny Scudero had 10, and Junior Vanderos had 11. Camden Brown leads this group in average depth of targets with 15.3. And interesting enough, Nick McMillan close behind him with an ADOT of 15.2. Maybe kind of feeds into that Taquan Roberson number there, as McMillan and Snow big targets for Roberson. Heading over to our tight ends, and we've got Dorian Thomas. New Mexico comes in at number 1. Number 2, Brody Foley at Tulsa. Number 3, Gavin Harris, New Mexico State. Number 4, Jiron Johnson, Bowling Green. And number 5, Peter Clark at Temple. I kept Dorian Thomas at number 1. I could have made a case there for Brody Foley, but Dorian Thomas just did it all season. Brody Foley came on hot at the end of the season. I'll kind of get into that a little bit here. Jiron Johnson was the number 1 target for Bowling Green. I think he led the team in receiving touchdowns with 2. And Peter Clark, similar to Brody Foley, kind of more of the end of the year thing, but he had 6 touchdowns at the end of the season. So when he was getting yards, or when he was getting looks, they were in the red zone. Brody Foley was tied for the lead in the G5 with touchdowns with 7 with Rocky Beers. What could have been with Jackson Warren there at Colorado State. 4 of these 5 guys here averaged over 40 yards per game. Jiron Johnson was the only one who didn't. Like I said, he led the Falcons in receiving, but he got 38.03 yards per game. For reference, Brody Foley's 48.45 per game was first in the G5, so pretty close. And again, Isaiah Cummings was another name that was on here at the beginning, and because he got injured, he fell off. But, him and Jackson Warren would have smashed, I think, this year had it not been for those injuries. Gavin Harris led this group in average depth of target with 10 yards per target, and Brody Foley led this group in yak per reception with 8.2 yards. And like I said, the reason I stuck with Dorian Thomas at the top was just he was consistent all season. And Foley, I told you how he emerged at the back half of the season. He would tally up 58% of his seasonal yardage in the last 5 games of the season, as well as haul in 4 of his 7 touchdowns in those last 5 games. And like I said, sneaking into number 5 here is Peter Clark. Why? His touchdowns. 6 on the season, 40.25 yards per game. getting about 3 targets a game. That rounds out the tight ends. Justice, you want to take away for centers?
Yeah, let's move over to the offensive line. So these guys are ranked by our proprietary G5 Hive rating system. It looks at the performance of the team's entire offensive line unit as well as the individual player's performance. Number 1, we got Elijah Fisher, UL Monroe, a rating of 81.88. He allowed 3 pressures and 657 snaps. Number 2, we got Anthony Boswell from Toledo, a rating of 80.86, has a negative play rate of 2.28%. Number 3, Jacob Spomer, Fresno State, 80.36 rating. He has a pressure per snap percentage of 1.96. Making his debut at the end of the season here, we got number 4, Tay Yanta II from North Texas, a rating of 78.94. He has a negative play rate of 1.51%. And rounding out the top 5, we got Brock Riker, Texas State, a rating of 78.5, and he allowed 5 pressures and 868 snaps. Moving over to the guards, number 1, and our highest rated offensive lineman in all of the G5, we got Shadre Hurst from Tulane, a rating of 83.38. He had a negative play rate of 1.65%. Number 2, Tristan Smith, Arkansas State, a rating of 81.96. He's allowed 4 pressures and 679 snaps. Number 3, Jay Mickle, Louisiana Monroe, 80.95. He has a negative play rate of 1.72%. Number 4, another new guy here at the end of the season, Jack Burnett, Air Force, rating of 80.54. He allowed 4 pressures and 671 snaps. And rounding out the top 5, we got Will Jeffcoat for Army, 80.5 rating. He has an impressive negative play rate of 0.51%. All right, moving over to the tackles, we got Travis Burke from Memphis, number 1, 81.88 rating. He has a pressure per snap rate of 3.03%. Number 2, Nick Del Grande, Coastal Carolina, 79.54 rating, negative play rate of 1.51%. Number 3, Cage Casey, Boise State, 79.22 rating. He has a pressure per snap rate of 2.74%. Number 4, Dorian Strong, Texas State, 78.14 rating. He's allowed 14 pressures and 847 snaps. And rounding out our top 5, Zach Kochnour, Nevada, a rating of 77.9 with a negative play rate of 1.88%. Moving over to the defensive side of things, these guys, the guys on the defensive line are broken down by havoc rate. Havoc rates basically, causing a negative play for the opposing offense. Number 1, Ndame Tucker, Western Michigan, havoc rate of 17.9%. He led college football with 14.5 sacks this season. Obviously, it's first in the G5 as well. Number 2, we got Adam Trick, Miami of Ohio, 16.4% havoc rate with a rush win rate of 18.2%. Number 3, we got Jamon Tapp, Southern Miss, 16.35% havoc rate. He ranked 6th amongst edges and tackles per game with 4.7. Number 4, Dylan LaBarbera, Nevada, havoc rate of 15.89% with 49 total pressures on the year. And rounding out our top 5, Michael Heldman, Central Michigan, 15.63% havoc rate with 28 stops.
What I really took away from looking at this throughout the season, Mac is where you want to be for edge rushers this year.
Yeah, Mac, I feel like always produces good edge rushers. Just that's something that they always seem to pop, and you always see some Mac defensive linemen always seem to get drafted in the NFL draft. So it's one thing that the Mac does well is recruit and develop along that defensive line. Moving over to defensive tackles, once again, havoc rate Number 1, Ezra Christensen, New Mexico State, a 14.76% havoc rate with 5 sacks. That was 5th among G5 defensive tackles. Number 2, Dejon Benton, Hawaii, a 13.1% havoc rate with 40 total pressures on the year. That was 1st among G5 D tackles. Number 3, DeMonte Smith, Middle Tennessee, havoc rate of 12.33% with 29 stops on the year. Number 4, Trayvon Mitchell, South Florida, havoc rate of 12.3% with a rush win rate of 12.4%. And rounding out our top 5, Peyton Zadroik, Air Force, havoc rate of 11.46% with 37 total pressures, which ranked 2nd among G5 defensive tackles. All right, next up is linebackers, and something we want to point out here. When we started doing all of our 2020 players, we use stats from PFF. If you're not familiar with PFF, PFF charts each game themselves. So their stats are never going to match up to ESPN. ESPN I would say is more like the official stats that the NCAA uses. PFF charts each game individually and thus comes up with their own stats. For the most part, there is a big difference, but there is an exception, and that is tackles. There is a big difference between what PFF has for tackles versus what like an ESPN will say. I feel like the PFF's probably more true. If you don't play IDP or you don't really look at defensive player stats, when you look at a stat line that a guy has 20 tackles and 18 of them are assists and 2 of them are solos, it raises questions, right? Is the person giving out tackles being a little too generous? So in that regard, I really feel like PFF, is more of an even kill, if you will, right? It's not like the home scorer, doing his guy a solid. These guys are, they're charting each game, so a little more unbiased, I guess I would say. And so as a result, things are going to look different. For instance, Owen Long led the nation in tackles, but he's not even on our top 5 because if you look at the PFF stats, he comes in at number 6 for us. So anyway, enough about that. Tackles per game, number 1, Red Murdoch, Buffalo, 11.25 tackles per game. Solo tackle rate of 69%. Number 2, Ray Coney, Tulsa, 11.16 tackles per game with 57 stops on the year. Number 3, Quinn Erweiler, Northern Illinois, averaging 10.9 tackles per game with a missed tackle rate of 8.4%. Number 4, Jackson Eck, New Mexico, averaging 10.75 tackles per game with a solo tackle rate of 71%. And rounding out the top 5, Micah Davey, UTEP, 10.33 tackles per game with 73 stops on the year. Moving over to cornerbacks, we use adjusted net yards per coverage snap. Basically, it's looking at what happens when the cornerback or the defensive back is targeted, how many catches is he giving up, how many yards, touchdowns, etc. And then we subtract the good things he does, like interception touchdowns, pass defenses, etc. Divide that all by the coverage snap. And so, this is kind of the guys that are getting it done in coverage. Number 1, Chris Johnson, San Diego State, with an adjusted net yards against of negative 0.099 and a QB rating against of 15.5.
Not only is Chris Johnson probably the best corner in the G5, but he might be one of the best corners in all of college football.
Yeah. Only these top 2 guys had negative numbers for cornerbacks. Number 2, Amari and McCoy, Boise State, negative 0.094 adjusted net yards against, and he had 4 interceptions on the year, which ranked 5th among G5 corners. Number 3, LaTerrence Welch, UNLV, a .187 adjusted net yards against. He had 4 interceptions and 1 pass breakup on the year. Number 4, Simeon Harris, Fresno State, 0.22 adjusted net yards against with 5 interceptions on the year, which ranked first among cornerbacks in the G5. And rounding out the top 5, Jonas DeClona from South Florida, 0.245 adjusted net yards against, and he also averaged 2.67 tackles per game. Moving over to the...
I wanted to say with the cornerbacks, Mountain West dominates the cornerbacks. You got
4 of the top 5, all Mountain West. All right, let's move over to the safeties. Same thing, adjusted net yards against per coverage snap. Number 1, Jakari Foster, Louisiana Tech, negative .575 adjusted net yards against with an NCAA leading 7 interceptions on the year. Number 2, Caleb Nix, Jacksonville State, negative .290 adjusted net yards against with averaging 4.17 tackles per game. Number 3, Dwayne McDougal, San Diego State, negative .075 adjusted net yards against with 3 pass breakups and 3 interceptions on the year. Number 4, Dateon Smith, Marshall, negative .029 adjused net yards against with a quarterback rating against of 22.6. And rounding out our top 5, soon to be NFL player. He'll be drafted here come April. Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of Toledo. He has a rating of 0.023 adjusted net yards against. And not only can he cover, he gets it done in run support, averaging 5.25 tackles per game. And that is going to do it for the 2020 players for the 2025 season. Be back next year with those 2025 players. We might tweak some of these things in terms of how we come up with our lists, but nonetheless, the 2020 players will be back again in 2026. Hope you guys enjoyed them. And that's it for 2020 players.
I think Jakari Foster, too, similar to Chris Johnson, he might have led the nation from the safety standpoint in that.
Yes, I think so, because a big part of it's going to be 7 interceptions, which led the NCAA. So, yeah, I mean, without looking at the stats, I think you're probably right. Jakari Foster led all safeties in adjusted net yards against per coverage snap. 100%.
And what I seem to take away every single year is there is some NFL team who's getting a steal from a G5 defensive player.
Yeah.
You've got, why am I blanking on the Toledo cornerback, a name that went to the Eagles?
Mitchell? Quinyon Mitchell?
You got Mitchell. And gosh, it's too late. I'm blanking on names. The edge from Marshall who fell in the draft. That was wild.
Oh my gosh.
Went to Baltimore. Mike Green. Like, there are G5 guys who are going to maybe slip or whatnot, but they're one of the best in the nation at what they do. So excited to see how many of these defensive guys go. But that's going to do it for us tonight. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, give us a follow. And if you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and review. Again, I have no idea how this algorithm works, but they help. Trust me. And we're so grateful for the immense amount of support that we've received, and sincerely thank each and every one of our listeners, our viewers, our supporters. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss who won the Commander-in-Chief Trophy, what happened in those first 2 bowl games. Then we're going to take a look at our 9 bowl game previews plus our 2 playoff previews. They're bowl games too. So we got 11 previews all together. And as always, we will bring you up to date on all the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.